inside the broadcast booth here in the John J. Lee Amphitheater with the University of New Haven Hall of Famer Christine Huber and Kayla Burton roaming the sidelines. I'm Josh Hess. Christine, Yale might be playing some of its best basketball of the season right now. 2 wins last weekend, but they can't overlook this Penn team that upset them a couple weekends ago in Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's really true. They really need to pick up their game defensively. A little more help side defense, and they need to deny those passes from the post.
Well, A.J. Broder in the post for Penn is one of the most dominant players in the Ivy League. He's always a handful.
He really makes everyone around him better. He's the best passer in the league. He actually leads the Ivy League in assists per game. He's a big man in the post that Penn's really going to rely on offensively and defensively, and he's also not scared to hit the big shot.
And for Yale, Jordan Bruner had the first triple-double in program history 2 games ago against Cornell. He'll try to do the same tonight.
Yeah, and it was actually only the 3rd in Ivy history. He's very similar to Broder, a great all-around player in the post. He can do everything, offensively, defensively. Yale's really going to need him tonight if they want to get that win.
Christine, it was an emotional, hard-fought win last night for the Yale Bulldogs over the Penn Quakers. Came right down to the wire, but now they have to turn around, forget about that, and face Princeton.
They really need a quick turnaround. This game still has a lot of Ivy Madness implications. It could really determine who comes in first.
Well, if Princeton wants to have success, they might rely on sophomore guard Jalen Llewellyn tonight. He can get going.
He really can. He's coming off a game-high 19 points versus Brown last night. He really is a threat all over the court. He can hit the 3, but he's also great at penetrating, and he loves getting to the hoop.
There was a top 100 recruit on ESPN before he decided to come to Princeton, but on the other side for Yale, we just had the senior night ceremony. Eric Monroe got a large ovation. The captain plays his final home game tonight.
And he really is a team-first player. He'll do whatever is needed. Last night we saw him diving all over the court. He really was the catalyst in the epic comeback last night against Penn.
It's such a Christine, and this is a very important game tonight for both sides.
Yeah, and Princeton right now has basically locked it up at 8-0 as far as Ivy League conference play, but it's looking like Penn, Yale, Columbia, and Harvard, they're going to be fighting for those last 3 spots.
Christine, although both Yale and Dartmouth lost their last time out, Dartmouth is out of the Ivy Madness picture, but a win tonight for Yale keeps their season alive and also is a program-defining type victory.
Yeah, it really is. Yale's trying to get revenge from last year. They wound up losing their last 2 home games, which kept them out of Ivy Madness, and more importantly, a little salt in the wound, it was held right here.
Well, if they want to get back in the winning ways, Laura Bagwell-Katalinich, who played a big part in their sweep of Yale last season, needs to get going and play a big role tonight for the Big Red.
Yeah, last season she actually scored a 1/3 of Cornell's points against Yale. So we're going to see if she's going to be able to get that many and really boost the team this season, or tonight's game. She had 23 points this past weekend against Dartmouth. So she's hoping she's going to step up and end this 5-game losing streak that Cornell's on.
Started her career at Penn, and now she is with the Big Red. But Megan Gorman, the captain for Yale, had somewhat of a surprise game last week against Penn.
Yeah, she really had a breakout game last weekend. She got a double-double. She had 13 points. She had 16 rebounds. And to also go with that, she had 3 assists. It was her second double-double this season. When Penn took the lead of 10 points, I kind of thought it was over. Yale obviously is proving differently.
This is a 5-0 run for Yale. Matthew Cotton back in the offense for defense with Gabadon heading to the bench. And Christine, now after that Monroe 3, you don't need a 3, you just need a basket here. It can be a 2.
And you don't even have to rush it either. It's only 5 points.
Monroe, wide open look. That time off the side of the iron. Quickly up ahead for Goodman. Lost it on the floor, it's still loose. The excitement is pouring in the John J. Lee Amphitheater. There's Atkinson, brings Yale within 3.
You're going to tell me these 2 teams don't want this win? Look at that, they're diving on the floor. Great hustle by both teams.
And it forced Steve Donahue to run all the way to the logo for the officials to recognize his timeout. I'd love to see another look at that scrum on the floor, Christine, because it was just fighting nonstop. Everybody knows what's at stake. The fans know it as well, and they got into it.
There it is right there. Great hustle by both teams. And you know what? Good for the officials for letting them play. There weren't fouls. The ball's still bouncing around. No time to call a timeout yet.
And nobody really had possession there, and Yale got the benefit of no fouls being called, although we do have an official review right now with 55.8 on the clock. All of a sudden, we've got a 3-point ball game, so Yale not forced to foul. They just need a stop. And if you're Penn, use some clock, have an extended possession, and find the shot you want.
Yeah, and again, I mean, I think the Penn bench thought it was over when they were up by 10, and Now all of a sudden they're only up by 3.
They're just fighting nonstop. Nobody had clear possession until Swain flipped it to Atkinson.
And honestly, that could have even been a foul to make it an and one, and this place would have really erupted then.
So just to put the numbers into perspective, since Penn went up 73-63, Yale has gone on a 7-0 run in a 43-second span, and the Quakers have turned the ball over 3 times in a roughly 2-minute span.
And that's partly due to the full court press that Yale's put on.
Vicky Chun, an excited spectator, and Peter Salave as well, hoping for a Yale victory this evening. Most of the crowd here inside the John J. Lee Amphitheater is on its feet for these final 55-plus seconds of action.
And we get to see another thriller here. It's amazing. Maybe it'll go into triple overtime like our Siena game at the beginning of the year.
Bulldogs just need to worry about getting the game tied first. Gabadon gets his hand in it. Once again, it's a fight on the floor. Bruner has it and gets fouled.
This full court press, it is just causing Penn so many issues. Just a bad inbounds there. But again, look at everyone on the floor. All the Yale players on the floor. Bruner doing a good job just staying strong with the ball.
You got to love the offense for defense substitution as well that James Jones keeps doing to put Gabadon in the game for the press, and then Cotton comes in on the offense for the Bulldogs. This is still a 1-and-1 though for Jordan Bruner.
Yeah, and it's a no-brainer, that offense-defensive switch. We know how good Gabadon is guarding the ball, defending. And, of course, we've seen Cotton really light up the gym here and obviously on away games as well. I mean, he can hit the 3.
What a final 80 seconds of play this is turning out to be. Yale on an 8-0 run. A free throw here would make it 9-0, and the Quakers still 2+ minutes without a basket. Bruner makes it a 1-point ball game.
And Yale's going to get right back into the press. Penn needs to figure this out very quickly.
Well, the Quakers put an extra guard on the floor. A.J. Broder comes off. Jordan Dingle, just a freshman, is into the ball game. Number 3 in blue. Bentley gets the inbound. Yale hounding him. He needs help and calls for a timeout.
That's not what Penn was planning on, I'll tell you that much.
This Yale defense is just stifling. Broder comes back over to the scorer's table to check back in. Christine, it's very rare to see a full court press be this effective for this long in the ball game.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Penn's even made it over mid-court the past few times. I mean, the only thing they could do is call a timeout there. Everyone was screaming it. You can't pick up your dribble in the corner of the court like that. That's like a no-no that you learn in 2nd grade. But the Yale defense, I mean, they are just nonstop everywhere. Bruner, obviously, as athletic as he is, he comes over for that double. There's nowhere to go.
Yale pulls away as a late winner over Cornell, 86-71 to sweep the first back-to-back weekend of Ivy League play. With Christine Huber, I'm Josh Hess. Christine, that was a very exciting back-and-forth game. Both teams shot the ball well, but there was really one thing that made a difference for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, they both shot great from the three-point land, but I tell you, it was points in the paint. Yale just dominated the paint. They got those high field goal percentage, and that helped them with the win.
Yeah, the Bulldogs really excelled down low with the athletic big men that they have. As we'll take a look at the stats from tonight's ball game. And start to finish, it was the Azar Swain show, tied his career high with 25 points, hit 6 threes. But it takes more than just one guy to win an Ivy League basketball game.
Yeah, it definitely does. And Yale is showing all their different offensive threats. We already went over the stat of the points inside the paint. There we see Boeheim and the Cornell players that were able to get those good high percentage shots as well. But, you know, Bruner down low, he does such a great job sealing, and I want to see more high-low action from Atkinson and Bruner, and they will dominate the Ivy League.
Yeah, it was close for a while, and then in the end, the Bulldogs just pulled away, started to get fancy, too, with some dunks and some good-looking passes. Paul Atkinson leads the league in field goal percentage, and that won't change tonight. The crowd really got into it at the Lee Amphitheater.
And it took Yale about 35 minutes to actually get into the flow, get into their rhythm. It can't take that long if they're going to want to dominate the Ivies.
Yale really dominated in all facets of the game, shooting, rebounding. Last night they had 23 assists. Tonight, 21 in that category. And, of course, Azar Swain was the big show.
Yeah, and again, points in the paint just leads to that great field goal percentage, as you see there. 56% Yale had tonight.
Both